This is Tech Gears. My name is Levi, and today, as the video titled, we're going to be looking at really the first great vintage Sony E-mount lens. All right, if you're just tuning into this channel, really appreciate you guys, and hopefully this title is not misleading. But today I wanted to talk about the amazing, tiny, super sharp, and the original from 2013 when Sony launched its full frame E-mount Zeiss 55 1.8. This amazing lens is literally 8 years old and was in the original kind of set of full frame E-mount lenses that was released. So I know when you say vintage, usually you're thinking of maybe the Sony A-mount, the Minolta line, or even going back to vintage, Nikon lenses and Canon lenses from yore. But if you're looking at E-mount, the Sony E-mount system started in 2010. It is 11 years old now. It is not just a newcomer. It actually has some of the most prolific lenses available here in 2021 as far as giving you the most variety of lenses you can get of any system. And if you're looking at any of those lenses, it's amazing that if you want a 50mm, which is just a very tried and true focal length, going with this sucker right here, and I have this on a full frame A7C, and I'll get into that in a moment here, but this tiny, amazing lens is just phenomenal, even by today's standards. And honestly, out of all the 50mm you can choose, this still is pretty much up there as far as getting the most value, the most bang for your buck. If you're trying to get the best 50mm, but also not spend the most money, this is pretty much the best option you're gonna get. Now, when we're talking about 50mm lenses, obviously you have something like the Nifty 50. And that is something that you can get for as cheap as, what is it, 250 bucks new. I've seen them for as low as 150 with the 51.8 from Sony. From there, obviously you can go a little bit more expensive and get something third party like from Samyang with their 45 or their 50mm lenses and that $400 to $600 range. And then you're stepping up into the 55mm. And again, this is still new, about $1,000, I think maybe $899, but used. And I'm actually selling this, and for a very good reason, for usually anywhere from $500 to $600. And at that price point, yes, you have Sigma with their new 65i series, not quite a 50mm lens. And the value, if you're able to get this at that $500 to $600, the closest competitor is the new G series from Sony. That's a 50mm 2.5. At 55 1.8, the bokeh you get on this, I still think is incredibly pleasing. The focus speed is still really sharp and trustworthy, whether it's for audio or video. And this is just something that when it was made, Sony just came out with full frame. So even on something that looks like an APS-C body here in the A7C, it looks at home. This is something that fits easily as well your 6400 or 6100 as it does your Sony A7 III, A7R, and it's, I think, the initial kind of small, perfect prime lenses. And I love the trio of these, and I'd love to do a video on those, the kind of the small primes that you can get for Sony. But this is one that just fits so perfectly if you put it on their APS-C bodies and you're getting close to an 85mm focal range, but you put it on a full frame and now you're getting your classic 50mm range. So as a vintage lens, and it's weird to say that, really the only lenses that are going to be better than this are only if you need to gather more light, you're shooting in low light situations. You have the Zeiss 50mm 1.4, which sells new for about $1,500, and I've seen as low as $1,000. And then of course the new 50mm GN 1.2. that is something that obviously is better in every way, except it's probably 4 times the size of this. So it is not a cross APS-C small lens like this one is. It is a full frame lens, and for its aperture, the GM is actually one of the smallest for its competitors versus the RF and Z mount. So it's still competitive as far as that. But if you're looking for one of the most perfect lenses you can get for the Sony E-mount system, you want something with character in a vintage kind of style, this 55 Sony Zeiss, and this is before Sony had all their own engineers making their own lenses, and they did partner with Zeiss with their initial releases. They did such an amazing job. This is probably the only lens out of that initial batch with the 35 2.8 and the 24 to 70 f4, later on the 16 to 35 f4. Of those, this is easily the best one you can get that is still worth it today. If you can get a good deal on this, jump on it, keep it in your kit, and unless you're doing more indoor events where you do need more light, you really don't need to upgrade from this. The 51.4 is a fantastic lens I had an opportunity to use, and obviously the GM is kind of the cream of the crop. And honestly, end of this video, the reason I'm selling this is because I had an opportunity to get the 50mm GM lens for almost half off, so I couldn't turn it down. So I am sadly actually selling this from my collection. I hope it goes to a good home, and I would encourage you guys to add this to your collection, unless of course you just get a phenomenal deal on something that is better than this. But honestly, if it wasn't for the GM, this is the one I would be keeping. Guys, girls, hopefully you enjoyed that video. Hopefully it was a help to you if you are looking for a 50mm lens. I'd love to break down some of the options available out there and help you guys make a better decision of what to get for your Sony E-mount system. As always, I really appreciate you guys. Consider giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing, and put your comments down below. This is Levi with Tech Gears, and I'll come at you later.